For sure.
Right. Was it on a coffee mug, a throw pillow somewhere? Maybe it was in some corporate HR seminar about bringing your whole self to work.
Which is always a trap.
It's always a trap, and it sounds so simple. Just be yourself. Okay, great. Who else would I be? But here's the thing, and I think everyone listening feels this. If it's so simple, why does it feel so complicated in 2026? Why does being yourself feel less like, existing and more like a full-time job with really long hours and, frankly, terrible pay?
That exhaustion. That's exactly what we're digging into today. Because you're right, it feels like work because, well, in the modern world, it is work. We've got a huge stack of research all anchored by this one really fascinating document called Identity versus Authenticity.
Okay.
It's a systemic analysis that it starts with the philosopher Charles Taylor.
Right, The Ethics of Authenticity, a classic.
Exactly. And then it updates his work with modern sociologists like Andreas Reckwitz and Hartmut Rosa, and it takes us right up to the AI ethics debates we're having today.
So no light reading today. We are going deep.
We are. But the mission here isn't just to, talk philosophy for its own sake. We want to move past that superficial idea of self-expression.
Like dyeing your hair or posting a hot take online.
Exactly. And get to the bottom of this real tension between who we are, our identity, and who we feel we should be, our authenticity.
Yes, because whether you're navigating, a career change, or you're just tired of feeling like you have to curate your entire life for an audience online, this deep dive is explaining why that unease is there.
And hopefully how to navigate it.
So let's unpack this. The source material kicks off with a bit of a history lesson. It talks about this massive shift from something called the Great Chain of Being to where we are now.
Right.
Now, when I hear Great Chain of Being, I'm just picturing some kind of medieval org chart. What's the headline there?
The headline is that for most of human history, the question, who am I, basically came with a cheat sheet. In the pre-modern world, your identity was fixed by your social rank, by the cosmic order.
Okay.
The source uses this great image. An eagle wasn't just a bird, it was the king of birds. A lion, the king of beasts. And you weren't just Bob, you had a God-given role. You were a peasant, a lord, a blacksmith.
So you didn't need to take a gap year to find yourself. You just, looked at your dad. Oh, he's a blacksmith. Cool. I guess I'm hitting hot metal for the rest of my life.
Pretty much. You had a place in the chain. But then came modernity, and we tore down those hierarchies. We questioned the church, we questioned the king, and we gained freedom, which is a huge achievement.
For sure.
We can choose our own paths now. But, and this is Taylor's point, it came at a really heavy cost. He calls it the disenchanted world.
Disenchanted. That sounds kind of sad.
It is a little sad. Because when we lost those external horizons, God, the cosmos, that rigid social order, the world lost its inherent meaning. It became flatter. And this leads to what Taylor calls the malaise of modernity.
Malaise. That's a great word. It sounds like a low-grade fever you can't shake.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a background hum of discomfort. And he identifies three specific sources. The first one is individualism and the loss of horizons.
Okay, but wait, isn't individualism the whole point? We want to be individuals.
We do, of course. But Taylor says it's a double-edged sword. We're free, yes, but we're also centered entirely on ourselves. And when the self becomes the only reference point, life narrows, it flattens out. He uses this devastating phrase, pitiable comfort.
Ouch, pitiable comfort.
It means that without some higher purpose, a heroic dimension, something bigger than us to serve, we just kind of circle around our own small pleasures, our own comfort, our own feelings.
Which feels like a perfect setup for the second malaise. Because if we're all just focused on our own little worlds, how do we deal with the big systems? The source calls this instrumental reason. That sounds a little jargony.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really the dominance of efficiency. It's the calculation of cost versus benefit applied to, well, to everything.
Okay.
Once the world isn't seen as a sacred order, everything and everyone just becomes a resource to be used.
Hang on, though. Efficiency is good, right? I want my coffee fast. I want my GPS to find the quickest route.
Of course. Efficiency is great for machines, but it's terrible for human souls. The source gives this specific example of a manager. Let's say this manager is a genuinely good person. They want to be empathetic. They want to listen.
Right.
But the market mechanism, the instrumental reason, it forces them to prioritize efficiency over that empathy.
Oh, I see. It's the unforgiving machine.
Right.
You want to be a human, but the spreadsheet says you have to fire 3 people to make the quarterly numbers.
Exactly. You're forced to treat people as instruments, as tools, not as human beings. And that disconnect, that creates a deep, deep sense of inauthenticity. You feel like a cog.
Which leads right to the third malaise, and I think this one's the trickiest. Soft despotism.
Sounds dramatic, but it's actually very subtle.
Okay.
It's about a loss of political freedom. Because we are so focused on our individual lives, on those private pleasures, we retreat for the public square. We stop showing up. We stop engaging with the messy work of democracy.
We just want to be left alone to watch Netflix.
Basically. And because we check out, we let these paternalistic bureaucracies just run the show for us. We might still vote, but we lose the sense that we're actually shaping our collective destiny. We become clients of the state, not citizens.
Okay, so let's recap. We're free, which is good, but we're also isolated, governed by cold logic, and politically checked out. That's the malaise. So naturally, the modern response is, screw the system, I'll just be authentic, I'll do my own thing.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Because the source then asks, okay, so is authenticity just doing whatever you feel like?
I mean, isn't it? If I want to quit my job to start a unicycle repair shop, isn't that me being authentic?
Taylor says, absolutely not. He calls that soft relativism. And to show why it doesn't work, he uses this very specific, slightly weird example. It involves grass.
Ah, yes, the grass counter. I read this part and I thought, is this a joke?
It's a great thought experiment. Imagine I decide that my life's true mission, my deepest, most authentic self, is dedicated to sitting in a park and counting blades of grass.
Okay. A weird hobby, but you do you.
But that's the question. Is that a valid identity? Taylor argues that I can choose it, sure, but just choosing it doesn't make it significant.
But why not? If it makes me happy, who is anyone else to judge?
Because for an identity choice to be truly authentic, it has to fit into what he calls a horizon of significance. It has to matter against a backdrop of things that already count: history, nature, art, society, religion.
So you can't just invent meaning in a vacuum.
Exactly. Counting grass is just trivial unless there's some broader context that makes it noble or important. Meaning isn't generated inside you. It's found outside you. And this connects to his idea that the self is dialogical.
Dialogical, like
Yeah.
dialogue.
Right. We don't define ourselves alone in a room. We define ourselves in conversation with significant others, parents, friends, lovers, even our enemies, society itself.
This reminds me of that section on Axel Honneth and the need for recognition. That really struck me because we all love to say, oh, I don't care what anyone thinks.
We love to say it. And it's a complete lie.
Yeah.
Honneth argues that recognition isn't just like a nice-to-have ego boost. It is a vital human need. If society refuses to recognize you or misrecognizes you,
Stereotypes you, ignores you.
it's not just rude. He says it's a form of oppression. It can actually deform who you are as a person.
So you can't just be yourself in a dark room. You need the world to reflect that self back to you.
Exactly. Identity is a team sport.
Which is a perfect segue into the modern day, because now we have a very, very powerful mirror reflecting us back at all times: social media.
Oh, yeah?
The source brings in Andreas Reckwitz and his Society of Singularities. This is where the philosophy really hits the pavement of 2026.
Reckwitz just nails the update. He says we've moved from the logic of the general, where the goal was to be normal, to fit into the logic of the particular.
Right. Being normal is now like an insult. You have to be special, unique.
You have to be singular.
Mm.
And it's not just your personality, it's everything you consume. The source uses that great example of storytelling coffee.
Oh, I know this place. The reclaimed wood from a barn. The barista tells you the farmer's name.
Yes. And his struggle against local climate patterns. You aren't just buying caffeine, you're buying a narrative. You're buying a prop for your own identity performance.
I am the kind of person who appreciates this specific, ethical, unique coffee.
And Reckwitz says this applies to everything. Authenticity has become a performance. We have to stage our uniqueness on the attention market.
It feels like we are all the art directors of our own lives. But the source points out a really dark side to this, doesn't it? It's a new class system.
It is. It creates a divide between the creative class, people who are good at this game, who have the cultural capital to curate their lives, and what he calls the precarious class.
The people whose lives aren't Instagrammable.
Exactly. Their lifestyles get ignored, devalued, because they aren't interesting enough for the algorithm. They don't have that singularity factor.
Wow, that sounds exhausting. I think everyone can feel that pressure to constantly perform, so. What's the cure? The source mentions Hartmut Rosa and this idea of resonance.
Rosa is the antidote to the burnout. He says our modern obsession is with autonomy, trying to control the world, manage our image. He says we need to stop trying to control and start trying to resonate.
And he uses the metaphor of a vibrating wire, right?
Yes, guitar string. It doesn't make a sound by itself. It responds. Resonance means you're responsive to the world, but, and this is the key part, you can't control the outcome.
So it's the total opposite of that manager we talked about earlier.
Totally. The manager tries to force a result. Resonance is a relationship where you allow yourself to be touched, to be moved by something. It's when a book changes you or a sunset makes you feel small. You aren't consuming the sunset, you are resonating with it.
So stop managing your life like a project and start letting the world vibrate against you. I like that. But, and it's a massive but, we are trying to find resonance in a digital world that's increasingly designed to fake it. Let's talk about the digital crisis.
This is where it gets really messy right now. You have the authenticity paradox for influencers. You have to be relatable to get followers, but the second you monetize it, you become a brand.
And the source talks about staged vulnerability. We've all seen this. The influencer posting a crying selfie, no makeup, with a long caption about their bad mental health day.
It feels cynical, doesn't it?
It does, but why?
Because it's a strategy. It's a calculated move to repair the trust that commercialization broke. Look, I'm not a billboard. I'm a mess like you. But because it's staged, it just feels hollow. It's performative.
And behind all of that is the algorithm.
Which is a huge problem for Taylor's horizons of significance. Remember, we need a horizon of values to define ourselves. Well, the algorithm replaces moral horizons with interest horizons.
We're not seeing what's important, we're just seeing what keeps us scrolling.
Exactly. We are trapped in a feedback loop of what the machine thinks is engaging, not what is actually meaningful.
And now, in 2026, we have to add AI to this whole mess. This is the part of the source material that genuinely scared me, the liar's dividend.
This is terrifying. The liar's dividend is the idea that because deepfakes are so good now, a bad actor can claim that real evidence of their misconduct is actually fake.
So a politician gets caught on tape, taking a bribe, clear as day.
And they just shrug and say, oh, that's just an AI, my opponents generated that. And the problem is, in 2026, that's a plausible defense.
Because we literally can't tell the difference anymore.
The source cites these studies from 2024, 2025. They show that humans detect AI fakes only about 51 to 55% of the time.
Wait, that's just...
It's a coin flip, you might as well guess.
That is a full-blown crisis of evidence. And it's not just politics, it's art, too. The source brings up Walter Benjamin and the aura.
Right, Benjamin argued that original art has an aura, a unique presence. The Mona Lisa has an aura because it's the only one.
Yeah.
AI messes with that. But the source suggests something fascinating. A semi-aura, hybrid aura.
Hybrid aura, what's that?
The idea that authenticity in the future might be defined by the quality of the collaboration between the human and the machine. It's not about human versus robot. It's about the human directing the tool with skill and taste.
Which brings us to maybe the creepiest and most profound part of this research, the digital afterlife. The idea of a digital companion that mimics a loved one who's passed away.
Yeah, this is happening now. You can upload your grandmother's emails, her voice notes, her videos, and an AI will simulate her. You can talk to her.
I have to ask, would you do it?
I mean, it's tempting. But the source poses this huge philosophical problem. Can you have an authentic relationship with something that has no will of its own?
Right. If I'm talking to Robo-Grandma and she tells me she's proud of me, does that even count?
Taylor would argue no, because without a real other to grapple with, someone who can surprise you, disappoint you, who has their own internal life, the dialogue just collapses. You're just talking to a mirror.
It's a hollow echo.
How?
Okay, so looking ahead, the source does outline some strategies. It's not all doom and gloom. We need a way out of this funhouse mirror.
There are practical steps. First up, regulation. The source mentions the EU AI Act and this push for digital sovereignty.
That means proving you're human, right?
Basically. We need state-secured ID systems, not just private ones from tech companies, so we can prove we are who we say we are without relying on, Google to verify us.
Okay, then there's competence. And I love this term the source uses, vibe coding.
Vibe coding. It sounds like a Gen Z trend, but it's a really important new kind of skill.
Explain that, because I definitely don't know how to code.
You don't need to know Python. Vibe coding is about using AI to realize your ideas. You code the vibe or the intent without losing the ability to judge the output. It's like being a film director. You're not holding the camera, but you have the vision. You know when the take is good.
So the skill of the future isn't technical. It's about judgment. It's about having a strong enough horizon of significance to tell the AI, no, that's garbage, do it better.
Exactly. You use the machine, but you have to be the one with the soul.
And finally, reclaiming horizons.
This is a big synthesis. We have to move away from the unencumbered self. This idea that we're just free agents floating in space. We have to anchor ourselves back into shared values, collective projects.
A world that makes claims on us. That phrase really stuck with me.
It's essential. Identity is a fragile balance. It's fidelity to your own originality. Yes, being true to yourself. But that self must be anchored in a world that makes claims on you.
So being yourself isn't a solo act after all. It really is a team sport. It needs other people to recognize you, and it needs a real messy world to resonate with.
Absolutely. If you remove the resistance, the friction of the real world, you remove the meaning of the self.
Which brings us to our final thought for you today. And this one is a bit of a brain melter. We are moving toward the metaverse. We're building worlds where our avatars can have total freedom. You can be a dragon, a robot, a younger version of yourself. Change your gender, your race, with a click.
Total fluidity.
But the question the source leaves us with is this. If we achieve that total freedom, will we finally be free? Or, without the resistance of the physical body, without the fact that I age, that I get tired, the limitations that force us to struggle, will we lose the very friction that makes identity meaningful in the first place?
Is a game worth playing if you could just turn on God mode and walk through walls? I don't think so.
Something to think about the next time you tweak your profile picture. Go find your resonance, everyone.
And stay real.
See you in the next deep dive.